Let's get to Brian's thoughts on the ACC championship. Like I said, he was locked in, and going into it, we had 4 number 1 seeds and 2 number 2 seeds of the 10 weight classes. And some of that what we're going to do tonight is explain wrestling hopefully in more of a layman's terms, cuz let's face it, Sam and I are still pretty much laymen despite me watching a lot of wrestling over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, people have tried to explain the scoring to me, and when it's all out on paper, I understand it, but when it's happening in real time, it looks so subjective to me. So I don't know what's going on, but I feel like we had a pretty good showing considering that we won by like 30 points. Whatever 30 points means, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the team score, that's a beatdown. We haven't seen that in either direction between Tech and NC State for a while. NC State's, they're redshirting a lot of guys this season, which wrestling does a bunch. So they're going to have a pretty stacked roster this year. We got a lot of young guys coming in for next year as well, but it was a demolition of everybody in the field for the most part. The scoring's pretty tough to figure out. Just takedowns are a little controversial. You got to get their leg out of the way, and I'll talk about some of the funk that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, it's a leg out of the way, hips behind hips, things like that. The escapes are easy for me to figure out, but like when it comes to the takedowns, because even the referees had a hard time figuring out certain takedowns. And so 5 of these 10 championship matches went to overtime or sudden victory or beyond. And so it was very competitive. I think there was only one of the 10 that was more than a 4-point margin. And so a really good, like we could have lost several of these matches. I mean, it was a beatdown on the scoreboard, but the matches individually were all pretty tight, even Caleb's match.
Yeah, they're all real close. Some of the close matches, especially with Caleb and Ventresca, where it's 1-1 going into overtime, they were in pretty good control for a lot of the match. Caleb was never really challenged by a very good UNC wrestler ranked 6th in the country. He just dominated that entire match. He had one shot that he put himself in an awkward position. He recovered real fast, but he is so aggressive on his feet. He gets off the bottom. He's tough on top. He looked real good. He's going to be the number 1 seed. We had some good fortune in the Big Ten championships where the lowest of the 3 seeds won the tournament. That was the Nebraska guy that Lovett. Yes. The one Caleb beat in the semis of the national championship last year,
which was a great match.
It was. And we kind of lucked into that. He made a bad choice in the 3rd period, and Caleb wouldn't see him until the finals. That's the expectation for Caleb. He should breeze to the quarters. He stays aggressive. He wrestles like he did the past 2 months. He'll have a tough match, presumably against Parco, Iowa guy. He's real good. That would put him in the finals against either the Penn State guy or the Van Ness or Lovett. That's the goal.
And that's in 149. Weight 149.
That's at 149.
And I thought for the last round plus of the ACC championship match against McNeil, he looked like clearly the better wrestler. Now, that didn't mean that he couldn't have lost it on a bad, shot or something at the end, but he was I don't know if he was playing possum in the beginning of the match, but like by the end of it, he clearly looked like the better wrestler, if you ask me.
There's a lot of hand fighting, a lot of shots to the head. He was wearing them out. McNeil didn't do anything. He was trying to take it to overtime the way he did and try to get it on a reattack. That was one of the most locked in, and Henson's been locked in for a lot of matches. He looked great, obviously, last year in the NC2As, but he's looked very good this year. He's looking better, making all the right choices, and he is just the best at reattacks I think I've seen of any Tech wrestler since I've been watching for a long time. So that 149 weight class went about as good as you could expect, obviously.
And I feel like it's one of the few where number one seed is no dispute. And you've already said that, but there are some other weight classes where it's not so clear, especially if you get down into 2 and 3. Like I think it's 141 where like there's no clear favorite. But let's talk about Ventresca quick at 125 because he was injured last year. 2 years ago, I think he was an All-American, correct?
Yes, he was.
And so then he comes back this year, and especially in the latter half of the year, he's been a beast. And he goes up against Robinson. And tell us about like that takedown at the end. It happened real fast. Then NC State challenges it. They win the challenge, but then we challenge it back. But from what I understood, the challenges were about different things. Like NC State's was about whether it was a takedown, and then ours was whether the ref blew the whistle too early. Is that what happened there?
What happened was we got the takedown, Ventresca, to win it. They stopped it. And NC State, they throw the brick, and the refs go to NC State coach and say, we're going to review this. This isn't going to go. We'll do a self-review. They review it, and at that point, it's just the two refs that are looking at the video. They overturn it based on what they see, which gives the tech coaches a chance to throw the brick, and that's what Freyer did. He threw it, and then at that point, it goes to an independent review, and it was by far a takedown. He had control. The only thing that they were looking at was if there was enough time. They want to have some type of time delay, just reaction time to see if he can get out of it. And
it's like the football move.
Right,
like, did he actually get it down? Were his hips, engaged or not engaged, or however you term it, like flipped the right way?
Right.
And to me, and I know in real time it's super fast, but I agree with you. It looked like he had that advantage for the split second that he needed it.
Of all the other calls, that seemed to be the most clear cut. Ventresca beat Robinson in the same situation at the duel, kind of shoved off him at the end of the match, and Robinson got pissed, and they were getting into it. So I was excited to watch how they reacted and wrestled. And Robinson has upset a lot of good wrestlers. Ventresca is going to get most likely the 3 seed in nationals, which is going to be really beneficial. He avoids a lot of landmines up until the semis. I'm sorry, the quarterfinals. He has a tough road, though. 125 is tricky with they're all real close in the top 8 at 125.
And for Ventresca, he is our second highest ranked wrestler on a national scale. If you go to Intermat or Flow or wherever, he's like 2 and 3 right now. And in fact, I do have a graphic I'll show in a second, but do you believe that he can win the Natty at 125? Or like, and you just talked about the favorable road. Like, is it a possibility?
Ventresca and Caleb, you want them to get into the semis. That's the goal. Caleb, you want to go to the finals, obviously, is the one seed and win it. Ventresca, he gets into the semis. Let's see what happens. He would have Matt Ramos most likely as the number 2 seed in the semis, and he beat him earlier in the year pretty decisively. The goal is to put as many wrestlers, at least the top, McDongle, Ventresca, Henson, potentially Hippolito. You want to get them into the semis. That's the goal for them. And then the Sam Latonas, Andy Smith, Jimmy Mullen. You like to All-American is a good goal. Stretch goal, obviously, is the semis. But we're looking at potentially 6, 7 All-Americans, and then Mac Church and
Stewart.
I think that and Wolak.
Wolak, yeah.
You like to see him get 2 wins. Most of the time I've spent the past 6 hours has been seeing if TJ Stewart was going to get in. He didn't qualify automatically, and they just announced the at-large selections, and he was not part of that selection, which is a bummer. He All-American last year. He's been hurt this year. I wish they would have taken more of that into consideration when they looked at those at-large selections. he's had a rough year, and I feel bad for him. He wrestled pretty tough this weekend. He
came in fourth, right?
He did, and top 3 auto qualified at 184. They use RPI, believe it or not, in wrestling to determine how many auto qualifications go out based on common opponent. They have a point system. It's
interesting. I was wondering how they did that. And it's like from the ACC, they give us a certain amount of bids per weight.
Correct. Based on their RPI and coaches rankings. And that was the 4 guys in the ACC at 184 are all in the top 25 and rankings. To only give 3 auto bids, I think
I'll show
was
that again.
a disservice.
Because Stewart, you can see him here. He's 22 in intermat and then 27 in flow. And that was after coming in 4th in the ACC. So it seemed like he was on that borderline of, warranting inclusion in the at-large. But we did get 9 guys into the NCAAs, and we'll talk about that in 1 second. At 133, Connor McGonigal wins the conference. He takes out O'Reilly, and O'Reilly was a 2-time defending champ in the ACC. So that is a huge
I'm glad he's gone. O'Reilly's been freaking a pain in Tech's backside for years, and he is cutting a ton of weight to go 133, and he looks like he's like 150 some pounds by the time he gets to the finals. And McDonigal, he had the number 5 seed Knox in the semis and beat him 1-0, and then he beat O'Reilly 5-2 on some really he puts himself in danger. He's not like Ventresca and Henson where it's close, but they seem in control. He gets people get in on his legs and ready to score, and he does some funk move where he just dives at a leg and spins around, and he ends up on top. He's won so many of those matches this year. He's the transfer, I think, from Lee. I think he came from Lehigh.
He's a transfer. Yep.
He's got a lot of real skill and mat awareness and abilities to find himself in the right position. I'm excited to see how he's going to do.
And he's a highly ranked guy too. I mean, in terms of, he's the 3rd highest ranked guy on the team in terms of a national scale at his weight. And so big win for him. And one of our 4 champions. So let's go to 141. Latona was the 1 seed. He ends up going down to Cedeno, who Cedeno kind of had I know he was the 2, but it wasn't expected for him to win this. And Latona is one of my favorite guys to watch, and he just didn't seem to have it in this match.
He is hot and cold. He can get in on people's legs, and he can't finish the takedown. And I think he gets so worn out by trying to either get off the bottom or finish these shots. He's been a mainstay for us for years, and he is always going to give you a 10 to 15 ranked type performance. He's All-American, I think, maybe once, but possibly twice. And he had a lapse, and he gave up 3 points against Cedeno. And after he missed on an opportunity on a takedown, I feel like he didn't have much left in his tank, but I'm excited to see him bounce back. Yeah, some of the other wrestlers have been more calculated with energy levels, and Latona he's like the Bryce Endonian of last year, where it's like, I'm up and I'm just going to throw whoever I can try to throw. And a lot of times sometimes it's not going to work, but I'm leaving it all out there. And
he's like a high motor guy who then he just goes till it's out of gas. Right. And he doesn't actually there's no load management with Latona.
No, there isn't. And he's great at getting to the high C single leg shot. And I really hope he has a big last NCAA tournament and gets to All-American status. That'd be awesome for
Let's talk about Hippolito, because this guy at 157 comes in and beats Scott, who I think was also a 2-time defending ACC champ. They said on the broadcast it was his best match of the year. He
started off the season in the Andonian way of just letting it all out. He gets worn out and people come back. He is the most exciting wrestler, in my opinion, to watch on the Tech team. He's a jiu-jitsu guy, doesn't have a lot of wrestling experience. His growth over this season's been awesome. He's been more patient, and he is just dominating. I think he's cutting a lot to get to 157. I'm not sure, but it looks like he has a lot left in the tank, and he has some real upper body moves that are great to see. And the wrestlers his opponents are anxious to get up top with him out of fear getting thrown through the mat. So he's another guy. I think he's going to be, by the time he's a senior, I would expect him to be at least in the semis of the NCAAs, if not the finals. He looks like he's getting better every match. And Fryer has done a great job with him. It's just remarkable how he's progressed.
Speaking of Fryer, he just went on Dan's podcast, Tales from the Terror Dome, and did an interview. So if you're interested in some more wrestling content, check out Dan's show, because the interview with Jared Fryer was really good, one of our assistant coaches. But to finish the thought on Hippolito, he's very sound for being young in his technique, it seems, and played a lot of what I thought was like impressive defense, as much as that sounds odd for wrestling fans. I felt like he was really good at fending off certain moves and then executing when he needed to execute, if that makes sense to you.
It does. And when the wrestlers get up top with him and he starts doing whatever he's doing with their arms, they back off real fast. They want to get out of that and wrestle on their feet. He's got a good double leg. He's got that Jordan Burroughs double leg. He looks really, really good going into the tournament in a few weeks.
So we'll kind of move quickly here. Mac Church, third place in 165, but he was the 5th seed, so he overachieved a bit here. Your thoughts on Mac Church?
He had a big tournament. He won the first match, dropped one, came back to the bottom half and just wrestled real well. Really happy for him. He's a freshman too, and he looked really tough this tournament, and he wrestles well in tough matches. He's got some good technique.
He rises to the occasion, guy. You're saying
he does. He's another guy that looks like he's improved. I don't know if he's oversized at 165. He might be wrestling a weight class up due to Hippolito being a freight train. So we'll see how he does. I'd like to see him get 2 wins in the tournament. That would be a good performance for him.
As for Wolak at 174, maybe a little disappointing. Although you look at his seed and you look where he finished ahead of his seed.
He did.
He kind of left you wanting a little bit more.
I mean, Wolak's, he was an All-American last year, and he transferred to Tech, and it looks like he's enjoying a lot of beers, being in his last year. He looks gassed. I mean, he's an ox. He's strong as an ox. He's got an inside trip. He got to the bottom half and wrestled well to qualify. He had a tough match against the number 4 in the country, Norman, beat him 8-5. That was a huge upset for us to get into the tournament. He would not have been in without that win. So I'm glad he'll get into the tournament, and 174 is pretty stacked. We'll have to see how that ends up, but he 2 wins for him would be good. He has the skill to go All-American. He's strong, like I said. And
what does it take to get All-American?
Top 8. Top 8.
Okay. At 197, Andy Smith finishes 3rd. Andy Smith, great guy. We like Andy Smith. He was the 3rd seed. He finishes 3rd. I'm not sure of his prospects in the tournament. Do you think he could win a few matches?
He got to the blood round last year, which is right outside. That's the last round before you make it to All-American. He had an impressive ACE or NCAA tournament. He overachieved. I think he's another. You get 2 wins out of him. Hopefully, make it to the get 2 rounds into the championship bracket, 2 wins, get to the quarters potentially, and then go from there. And a lot of the tournament is, who do you get paired with on the back end after you lose, and some of it's pretty much guesswork based on upsets, and you can get a really tough seed to get into the All-American status. But he had a decent tournament. I think his ceiling is about 10th in the country, but he's a strong guy, and he does he's been a good representative for our wrestling team.
All right, and finally the heavyweights. Jimmy Mullen comes in second, and he was the 2 seed, but in that last match against Pitzer, who was kind of on a Cinderella run, he had a shot and he went for it in sudden victory, and then all of a sudden he lost. And so, like, did he like botch that last shot? Was he just trying something? Was he gassed? Like, what happened at the end there?
Pitzer upset Trumbull. Trumbull's the NC State guy who was 4th in the country. He's been hurt the past few weeks. Mullen, he cruised to the finals, and then he's a really aggressive heavyweight wrestler. He's quick on his feet, and I don't know if he was just nervous and he just slowed down. He got that early. No, actually, he didn't get an early takedown. He got the early takedown in the semifinal match, and he just stopped wrestling. He slowed down. He couldn't finish a few shots, and that Pitzer guy, I just caught him on a good reattack on a not a great shot. I'm not worried about Mullen. I hope he shows some more aggression, goes back to some of the things he was doing. He just seemed like freshman in the finals got to him a little bit.
Yeah. So many of these guys are young and so good already. I mean, you're right. When you say he cruised to the finals, he had the fall in the first round and then 11-3 in the semis, I think it was. So like he was cooking, and that's why the loss against Pitzer, who did end up winning most outstanding wrestler of the entire tournament, which we could debate, but
yes, we can.
He had a good tournament. Pitzer did.
Yes, he did.
All right. So finally, a couple questions for Brian as we're kind of closing out this wrestling thing. By the way, that was great. We went through all the weight classes, talked about everybody, 4 champs, 2 number 2s, and 2/3. Is that right? Yeah. So a total of 8 guys that qualified. And then we got Wolak, who qualified as well. So it's 9 guys going to NCAAs, correct?
Yep. Which is, there's, I think, one team that has 10, Cornell, Penn State has 9. Some other top tier teams have 9. So nine's that's a good number to try to eke into the top 5. I think a top 5 finish would be pretty impressive compared to some of the other teams that just have juggernauts of a team composition. So that's kind of what I would be hoping for.
So you talked a little bit about the guys that you like on this team, some of the things you like about them and whatnot. And you might have already said this. Who's your favorite to watch on this team of the 10 guys we talked about today? Who do you enjoy the most watching?
Well, McDongle is the most McGonagall. Yeah. He is the most exciting because he always gets in these funky positions and figures out how to score. Ventresca is tactical. Caleb's just a beast. He's gonna get a ton of points. I hope he lets it fly once he gets further down into the championship rounds. It's hard not to root for Caleb as the top guy, seeing it how good he is at everything. And Hippolito can just launch people, and that was everybody loved Andonian for that. He made all kinds of hype videos. People loved him. Hippolito's going in that direction just a little more. It's like Andonian just chilled a little bit, save some. Hippolito's doing that, and he's a freshman, and he's going to have 3 more years to watch turn into a real exciting wrestler. Hippolito and Connor. I won't say McDongle again.
Sure.
They're very exciting to watch.
The Brazilian, who apparently Hippolito is friends with Davi, or at the very least, Davi has shown up in the wrestling room, Sam, and done some sparring and hanging out.
Brazil, small place, so of course they know each other. But that's pretty cool. I don't know if I would want, like, even if I was a collegiate wrestler, I've seen some of those videos. I don't think I want to get in a ring with Davi. I'm good.
Yeah, well, yeah, and his father is MMA. For those that don't know, Victor Belfort is that what it is? Victor Belfort. He's a MMA fighter, is Davi's dad, and so I guess Davi has grown up fighting a little bit and can get in there and mess around with the guys. Sam, what's your favorite wrestler to watch on this team? Who have you enjoyed watching?
I mean, I like Henson because he wins. I think that's pretty cool, and like little old Hokie. Like we don't have a lot of athletes that are like unquestioned at the top of their game, right? And so to see somebody in orange maroon doing that is pretty cool, and we don't see that a lot. So if he could go back to back individual national champion, you start talking like Mount Rushmore stuff at that point, like college
of
careers,
Virginia Tech history.
Yeah, like sure. Collegiate careers don't really get better than that, so that's cool. But I do. It was really nice to beat NC State. I have a lot of NC State, friends and family and stuff like that. So really nice to beat NC State not once but twice. And like you said, like top 5, I think would be really cool. Winning a national title is unfortunately very, very tough in wrestling, it seems. And so, yeah, if this program just keep going what they're going, they continue to recruit, they continue to develop. And I think I saw Bill Roth tweeted something out where it was like, Virginia, since joining the ACC in 2004, Virginia Tech has been one of the best at winning ACC championships. And wrestling is kind of leading the charge in terms of success at the ACC level consistently.
What's cool about what happened on Sunday was we hadn't beat NC State for 6 straight seasons. They had won the ACC 6 straight years since 2018. So for all you like, oh, Tech's good at wrestling, this was unique to beat them. And they didn't even come in second. They came in third because of some of the beatdowns we put on them in the finals. So that was really nice to come in first, win the ACC tournament, not just a share of the regular season title, which we already had. And I guess the last thing I asked you who you're most excited about. I think we kind of went over that with Hippolito. We talked aggressive wrestlers with McGonigal. So yeah, I think we covered just about everything we needed to cover with wrestling. One thing I did want to talk about, Brian, and I guess this will be our football segment. You're the reason that I know Mason Baggett, and he is now a member of our strength staff. Have you talked to him, and how excited is he to be back in Blacksburg?
He is pumped up. He is so excited. He got they went to a new coaching staff. They named him the head strength coach at Nevada. They fired their coaches after a second year. He went back to Maryland and the DMV, just great place to live. It can't get better than that. Kidding. And then he got picked up at
a lot of traffic.
Tech. Yes, he is excited. I obviously hope he stays there for a while, and that has a lot to do with the performance of Pry and the team with the new coordinators. But I'm excited to watch his videos now that he went to I was watching him before, but now he's at Tech, and you're going to see a lot of big squats from him and in his videos. That's his thing. He puts up like 685 on the squat rack, so he can lift it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Billy and I think Pat was on it too. Yeah, Billy and Pat both interviewed Jared Ferguson on their show last week and talked about the overhaul to the program and talked about Mason a little bit. And it's cool because Mason was there a long time ago with Jared, and now they're both back. And it seems like we're going to be getting back to some really hardcore stuff in the weight room. And it's exciting. And like I said, when we were freshmen, Brian introduced me. Brian was on my floor freshman year, and Mason, I think, was in the next dorm over or whatever.
In Behringer, yep.
Behringer. And so we all ended up hanging out a bunch, and you guys are still best buds from old Richmond days and whatnot. And I guess you and Mason were both wrestlers at one point.
Yeah, we wrestled together in high school.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Well, that's going to do it for wrestling. Let's take a beer break, and then let's talk some baseball. So, Sam.